to the Temple of Ascending Flame channel. My name is Ezrael, a full-time member of the temple, and today's topic is on ritualistic containers. And when I describe ritualistic containers in regards to the occult on the right hand and left hand path. Now, I first learned of ritual containers and my journey in life when I joined a witch coven in the late 1990s. Prior to that, my only reference was from Hollywood and how circles would be created to contain spirits or to protect the practitioner from the spirits. You would often see symbols around a circle that would represent the different names of the divine to conjure and protect. And old grimoires such as the Grimorium Verum provides accounts of creating circular rings to summon spirits within to avoid backlash of that summoning. Further research, ritual containers have been found and used for thousands of years. Written accounts are found of the Sumerian practices of using ritual circles called zisaru, meaning magic circle. This was an ancient Mesopotamian method of delineating, purifying, and protecting from evil by the enclosing of a ritual space in a circle of flower. Ritual circles monuments can be found all over the world, like Stonehenge and the more recent Göbekli Tepe. So when we look at the macro and micro levels of containers in the spiritual arena, we see them as in zisaru, meaning in a sacred space. And Wicca, it's one of the main tools is casting a circle. And ceremonial magic, there might be calling of different names of angels and or daemons to do certain things within that space. And directions have a very importance in that calling as well. Far as if you're wanting to call in or do a spell or rite for intellectual purposes, you would start in the east. And then different spells, different rituals have different directions, and that is a lot of the belief systems in the right-hand path of working, but also in witchcraft and certain groups of ceremonial magic. Now, as with science, a ritual container seeks to create a space to work with specific variables. Think of this again on the macro level of a petri dish, and then on a macro level, a medicine testing facility where certain individuals will stay within a space and ingest medicines to test them. The space is closed for both the micro and macro to remove unseen variables that could influence the outcome. So again, creating a container, creating a space that takes out variables that you don't want. And I've heard it before. People have asked, how do you know which spirit you're working with? When you receive messages from the divine, either through evocations and vocations, how can you separate who is who? And by creating a space that only pulls in certain types of energies, it helps to authenticate that data. Now, what is a spiritual ritual container? So in the witch coven I was a part of, the old saying that we would use to create a circle was a cast a circle that is a place that is not a place, a time that is not a time, a place between here and the land of the mighty ones to be a sacred space. Now it seems simple enough, but it's very intentional with words. So if you were to break that down, the old saying, I cast a circle that is a place and is not a place. You're using intention to create a space that is separate from the mundane and the earth. And then a time that's not a time. You're creating a space that's outside of time, a place between here and the land of the mighty ones. You're creating a bridge to the spirit world where the divine currents reside. And then to be a sacred space. And it means, a sacred space means a place of intention and purpose that's delineated for, or designated for this ritual purpose. So it is within that sentence, within that line, you have all that intention put into it. And when you speak it from your heart, it creates that that energy. Now, to do this as a practitioner, you would hold a wand, athame, or a sword. You can even use your finger. The tools are there to project the energy. As you walk around the walls of the space or the outside of the space, you are saying those words and projecting the energy with intention to create it. And for the Draconian currents, I created one specific one. I cast a circle of Leviathan around, entwined and bound above and below to protect the energy. So, one, I'm calling to Leviathan the energy, the current, to circle the space, to contain it, to protect it. And above and below means all energies from all directions. And so that's, another way to create a space for this type of work. Now, in Wicca, witchcraft, and shamanic practices, the space would be cleansed with white sage, sweetgrass, cedar, or copal. And this is traditionally on the right-hand path, as on the left-hand path, it's not necessarily needed. And you can use, as specified by other members of the temple, ways to create a vacuum to pull out energies that are in the circle, to if any issues arise. Now, in other ritual groups, the space would be filled with incense like dragon's blood, or whatever incense that is tied to the current of energy you're working with, a deity or some specified work. And this prepares the space for that work. Now, as the energies are separated from either you or the space, any outside influence would be removed. And again, this can be done using those plant medicines or by internal means. Now, creating a ritualistic container is used to raise energy or go within. If you're using the container to go within or work with your shadow to do inner work, you would create a container walking counterclockwise. And this is like a torsion field going inward. And think of it like a whirlpool. You're casting that energy to go a certain direction in that space. Now, if you're using the container to raise energy or to send energy for either blessing an object or casting a spell or sending energy outward, you would walk clockwise. As this raises the energy, it creates that torsion field going up and out. And so it would amplify, both ways it amplifies the energy, but with different intentions. Now, in the left-hand path, we tend to not use a ritual container as a means of protection, as fear is meant to be overcome. If we approach these draconic currents with fear, they would destroy us until we no longer feared them, but with intentions of our own ascension. So basically, how you approach them is how they approach you. And in that sense, walking into it with fear is never a good thing. And again, removing unseen variables, such as draconian spirit, in some cases, humanistic influences. There have been many accounts where if you are on bad terms with some people, the energies from those individuals can have influence in your space. So having that barrier can be beneficial in that aspect. But more so, it's a way to create a space of, specializing that work. Now, again, I had mentioned that, creating this container can amplify your work. You're summoning energies into a smaller space through invocation or evocation. And in group workings, the greater the number of individuals, the greater the amount of energy can be raised, often by spiraling in the space through dance, movement, chanting, drumming, and even sexual rites. Now, as the container is closed, the energy is held within it and focused on the intention of the rite. Once the energy raised is at its peak, all participants release that energy into the void or space to become form in our reality. This is an example of the use of a circle in a ritual, rite, or spell. Now, other examples of ritual containers have been found in the works of alchemy. In the early 2000s, I attended multiple alchemical workshops at the Vegas Vortex, ran by Jeff McBride, a professional stage magician and occult magician. The workshops consisted of a 3-day ritual working with classes on alchemy, and at night a ritual ceremony preparing for a rite on the 3rd day. The ritual space for that final rite was out at the Sekhmet Temple in Indian Springs on the outskirts of Las Vegas. The ritual container itself consisted of an entrance and then 4 circles within each other. The outer circle was a place for rest. Throughout the night within this container, there would be dancers, drumming, all sorts of different acts that would represent the stages of alchemy. As I was saying before, the outer circle was a place of rest. The next circle was for the drummers. The following circle was for the dancers. And then the small inner circle was for those that wanted to get close to the fire, as well as a place for the host, which was Jeff, and several other magicians that would perform acts throughout the night to represent different stages of alchemy. Now, at the entrance, if you left and came back to the space, you would be smudged with white sage. They were keeping that container removed of any attached energies that you might have gotten out leaving the space. And then drummers would consistently play throughout the night, and the energy from the drummers would feed the dancers, and then the energies from the dancers would feed the drummers. And they would spiral dancing around that container throughout the night. And the energy, as it was all contained within that space, would just get higher and higher, and it would just go through different points where Jeff would say words with intention or often perform a magical trick that represented the symbolic and alchemical stages of negredo, the blackening, albedo, the whitening, citrinetras, the yellowing, and rubedo, the reddening, representing transformation and consciousness, shedding, burning, and refining the energies and dance of alchemy. So throughout this night, there would be these different stages where you would go through elevated stages of consciousness. And then these, after dancing for 4 to 5 hours in this trance, and then seeing these, magical tricks performed representing these stages, it was very profound and transformational. And alchemy of the spirit can be done on a solitary level as well, using containers. But that example is one used in a group that was very profound. Shamanic ritual containers exist as well and have been used in many communities over the years that I've been a part of. One example is out at the Second Temple again, out on the outskirts of Las Vegas. A Siberian shaman was invited to share his medicine. And the rite started with him in the center of this large space with everyone surrounding him. Now, to create the container, he pointed in a direction and asked for all those who were born in each month to go to a different area of the space. And then after calling all the 12 months, we had a circle formed from people surrounding him. And then he began teaching of astrology and by the zodiac sign based on the birth date of each person, and going over the purpose and meaning behind that birth date. And it pretty much, symbolized many astrological reasons of, not only was it teaching on astrology and the zodiac, but it was also giving insights on possible things that we've experienced in our own lives based on our birth date. It was quite interesting. And as he continued to teach, the energy raised as if what he was saying spoke to our higher nature. And it was causing the energy to rise. And at the end of the lecture in class, he shared a plant medicine to go further into the teachings within that space. I was not able to attend that. I had, work the next day, but many did stay throughout that night and partook of the sacred plant medicine. But that's one example how I've seen it used shamanically. Another shamanic ritual container I attended was in Texas with the members of the Lakota tribe. They were holding a peyote ceremony. And during the all-night ceremony, everyone would sit side by side in a circle around the fire. There was a space between people that was considered a door for people to leave to use the restroom if needed. But to keep the space guarded and contained, right next to that space would be a guard. It was a role that a person played to, at certain times of the night, make sure no one left, and then opened it up when people could leave the space. Now, there was also a firekeeper, the individual that took care of the fire, as well as a water drummer. And if you've never seen a water drum, it's similar to a normal hand, I don't want to say a djembe, but it's a smaller drum that is filled with water, and when you beat it, it makes a specific noise that's often used in these type of ceremonies. And then, of course, the peyote shaman that is facilitating the space, the circle. Now, on this particular rite, the shaman would call out to our ancestors to join the ceremony. So throughout the night, there would be drumming and singing, and the ancestors would sing through us. And the stages throughout the night, the peyote would first be served as a ground powder. And then, as I was stating before, the drummer using a water drum would go to each person around the circle, giving them an opportunity to sing to the ancestors while the drummer drummed. Once the drummer made the way around the space to everyone, another round of peyote was passed. Often the second round was the peyote buttons themselves, and we would all eat them. And then following another round of singing to the ancestors with the drum. And then the next round, after everyone had gone around singing again, another round of the peyote would be offered, which would be in the form of tea. And again, another round of singing with the water drum. And as each stage progressed, the energy would raise as more and more people sung, more people. It was almost as if by singing, it helped balance the energies, because the energies in that space would get higher and higher and higher. And along with the peyote medicine, it would internally cause your energies to raise. And by singing and honoring the ancestors and hearing their wisdom through your words, you would kind of balance out. It would help ground the energies in a way. And then to give way for the next round, peyote, which would either be in seeds or whatever was left over from prior would be passed around again. And up to this point, like throughout the night, you were forbidden to drink water while ingesting the peyote. It was meant that you're to keep yourself for the medicine. And then at I want to say towards the end of the night, there's this huge pitcher of water that was blessed by the shaman, as well as they had a water keeper. And then they would pass that water around to everyone. And it was very revitalizing and purifying, and definitely gave you a respect for the water. So the drumming and singing would go on until daylight, and then often the energy raised was so much within that space that there would be prayers said by people that wanted to at the very end, and it would go on for about 2 hours, these prayers. And it was twofold. One, to speak what you wanted to speak as a prayer to the ancestors, to the spirits that joined the space, to each other, to all the relations in the world, as well as help ground out the energy. It did help kind of settle all the energy raised within that space. But that was one profound way a ritualistic container was used for that type of rite and ceremony. And so as you can see, ritualistic containers are not just used in witchcraft ceremonial practices such as magic, but also in shamanism and other sacred rites around the world. So some of the common questions I get about ritualistic containers, or one main question is, how do you leave a space after you've created one? Well, you can use the tool that you have, and create a door, and then leave out through that door you've created energetically, and then return through it, and then seal it after. But it's really good to have everything you need in your space so that you don't have to leave the circle that you've created or the container. That it's always good to have everything you need ready. So as you can see, ritualistic containers are used in the left-hand, right-hand path, have been used for thousands of years, used in shamanistic practices, rites of alchemy. Many methods are used, and many beliefs behind them. If you've enjoyed this presentation, I do encourage you to like and subscribe to the channel, Temple of Ascending Flame. You can go to ascendingflame.com. That is the website of the group, where many other rites and projects are on the board for the Draconian current. Other than that, I wish you a good day.